So in the last video, I showed the installation of Android on my Akuya Netbook, and in this video, I'll show you some of the functionality of Android on an Intel netbook. Okay, so here we're back with a more in-depth look. I hooked up a Logitech mouse and I hooked up a Logitech wired gamepad. This is the Rumble Pad 2. You can also do a wireless Rumble Pad or an Xbox controller. Any USB controller will work. So this is Android. This is Android 4.4. And let me go to the settings. Whoops. Android 4.4 running on an Akuya Medion E122X. That's what the system recognizes, and it's actually an Akuya E1222. It's Android 4.4.2, and it supports the Bluetooth control, the Bluetooth interface. It supports Wi-Fi, and it also has an OpenGL implementation. It's a single-core CPU that this system is running on, and there's an Intel graphics processor that actually is running this, which is a bit too weak for true 3D performance, but 2D performance is actually quite good. So this system cannot be used for any of the big 3D games, but a lot of stuff actually works out of the box. And I thought it would be nice just to show you how it works. And with the mouse and the keyboard, this system really works pretty well. You have notifications, and here we have a way of turning off the system, turning on and off Wi-Fi, the battery's charging. The cool thing is that all the hardware is supported, and even the special function keys on the keyboard, like volume up and down, actually works, and brightness up and down also works. So quite amazing how this actually works. This actually works a lot better on this system, this Intel Atom system, than the Windows 7 Starter Edition that came on it, and it even works a bit smoother than Ubuntu Linux, for example. It comes with the Play Store. The Play Store is fully supported, and as you can see, it's quite responsive. And I think I just show you what I have installed on the system. Well, as you can see, there's a whole plethora of apps installed on this system, and the cool thing about this is that this is actually my biggest and you hear me double click, but a lot of stuff is of course single click. I've turned off Bluetooth just to spare battery, but I could turn it on because I have my AC adapter included. Controllers that work with Bluetooth also work on this system. I'm not going to show that, but they work. You just have to pair it and they work as well. Sound is supported. Display storage is interesting, because this houses a 250 gigabyte hard drive, and the entire internal storage, when you partition the hard drive to use Android, is actually used for apps and for data. And that's a cool thing, because you can install just about any app you want, and you don't have to use external memory. It is possible to use an external SD drive, but then you get the weird thing about moving apps to the external memory and stuff, and that's something that Android really still is suffering with a bit, the memory management. But if you just use the internal memory, and this is the internal memory as one continuous bit of file, then it actually works. You can mount and unmount the SD card, or put in SD storage and stuff. That pretty much works. The thing is, if there's more, I think they offer like 4 USB storage solution. I mean, it's a bit tricky to find out which of the USB storage solutions actually is the memory stick that you put in. once you mount the correct stick, it'll show the files. If you mount the wrong entry, then it shows up mounted, but you can't see the files. It's a bit of a downer, that bit, but that's actually just about the only thing that's a bit bothersome. Well, basically, there's no GPS, and there's no touch screen interface for me, and there's also no motion sensor. So I basically have this in portrait mode, not portrait mode, landscape mode, all the time. And I've just installed all my accounts, my Google accounts, Dropbox accounts and stuff. So let me show you what actually works pretty well on this system. Well, it comes with the Google apps, and that actually works pretty well. Navigation doesn't really, because, well, you don't have GPS, so what does work is the Google thing. What time is it? Well, it's 9:48 p.m. Perhaps I should. How many wood can a woodchucker chuck? If a woodchucker chucks only wood, whatever. Well, I mean, it's go. Oh, okay. Well, you know, you get the drift. I'm actually not sure about the question, but gallery, Facebook. Facebook actually works. And here we have my feed, so I'm not going to show you my entire Facebook feed, but Facebook works, Skype works. I'm just going to click on that. I'm not sure if I logged in already. I guess I did. Yeah, well, it works. I've tried on a different machine and it works. It actually also works with the camera. Google Plus works, Twitter works, Play Store works, Messenger works, Translate works, everything works. And then we have some games. Not all the games worked, but these are games that actually worked. So let's show you Pac-Man Championship Edition. But before we do that, let's see how it boots actually, and then we'll do the rest of the demonstration. Okay, let's enter. So this basically is Linux booting, and then the Android shell and OS is actually running on top of that. So basically it uses a lot of the Linux hardware drivers, I guess, for Android. Basically this version of Android is pretty plug and play. It's installable on a whole plethora of systems, whereas the ROM files, the OS files for the tablets, they also contain the boot files and the drivers, and those bits of Linux aren't so much plug and play. They only have the drivers that are specific to a specific tablet, and not so much for a whole range of tablets. So putting a different ROM on your system could actually render the system useless, because well, certain key device drivers aren't included. So that can be a bit of a bummer. So experimenting with different versions of Android on your tablet is not so much recommended, I guess. So I'm not sure why the sound actually wasn't working. Let me see if I can actually, with a reboot, I can actually turn on Google YouTube. And let's see if it runs, because it should. There's no sound, is there?
And see, over NFL moron, piece of shit, idiots, athletes, disgraced athletes that throw it away, they beat up their
one of my favorite comedians, actually. But the sound, yeah, there's this mute thing that doesn't show, but yeah. Okay, so let me go back to the games, because I wanted to show you Pac-Man, because it runs pretty nice with the sound. Let's do that a bit slow, because otherwise you won't be able to hear me. And here we have the music and the sound. So make sure that you don't mute the speakers. But as you can see, this pretty much runs full speed and very well. Okay, so this is the way I shoot my videos, just ad hoc, not over Angry Birds. This game is very, very playable with the mouse. I mean, it's just a one-finger game, so it's surprising. I find it really surprising how well. I find it really surprising how well. How well this all runs. Well, Android uses a virtual machine, which basically runs compiled Java code. So it all depends on the Java virtual machine implementation, and of course the hardware. How well this is actually going to run. But as you can see, this tiny system, this tiny netbook, actually runs this type of software pretty well. What else? World of Goo. And here you see that I'm logged into Google Play. So here you can actually see that the textures, this is supposed to be I don't think this is supposed to be all black, so that is a limitation of my 3D hardware graphics card. That bit just doesn't work properly, so this does. So this actually works pretty well with the mouse as well. You just have to, you just have to climb up to the and you press the flush thing. So this game actually works pretty well, and as you can see, the system is pretty responsive. Let's go to another game. Sky Castle 3D. Yeah, we can see if that actually runs, because it does. It has an OpenGL implementation, and it may actually not work because the 3D capabilities of this machine is very limited. It may show a black screen, or it may show black polygons, or nothing, a color gradient even. And there's a speck of dust on the screen. Being so familiar with tablets, I find myself wanting to tab, wanting this to be a touch screen. But yeah, as you can see, nothing shows up on the screen. So this isn't compatible with the 3D hardware acceleration in the machine. GeoWars, free. New game. I'm curious whether or not the hardware is supported. No. So no joystick support in this game, only the movements like this. I have yet to find a way to map the touch onto these buttons. If the game doesn't support it, it just doesn't work. Let's see if Zombie. I mean, dual analog shooters basically often do recognize these type of controllers because they adhere to the Human Interface Device Standard, HID. Zombie would. So it's quite fun actually to be able to use all my Android apps, or a lot of the Android apps, on my old netbook. It actually gave it a bit of a second lease of life because it was really getting long in the tooth. Let me see if it would be fun if the hardware controls were supported, but we'll see. So if this is not you know, totally edited, you know, well edited video, well, excuse me, I don't really have a lot of time to spend reviewing the video and stuff, so I'm better off just sharing it as I've experienced it myself. So this is actually a 3D game where the well, the media was rendered, but well, basically we have a black screen, so that's just too slow. So you can see that not all the games run well. What does run well is, for example, Minecraft, which is quite amazing. But it doesn't use the analog sticks. But I mean, you can actually watch around. So this is actually, you know, a 3D function that is supported. But basically, probably because Minecraft uses a very basic implementation of OpenGL. Okay, so the gamepad is connected. If all is well, I'm able to, for example, play main for Droid. Yes, and here the buttons are supported. Let's go for Dangerous Seed. That is quite a difficult game. And then press start. Start. Because it uses multiple 8-bit CPUs, so it's more difficult to emulate. But you get a sense of what a multi-core game from 1989, how that works on main. Oh, some credits. And press start. Next year it runs pretty well. I've turned down the sound, but I mean, main actually runs pretty well. This is main for all, so that it uses a very old set of game files. But as you can see, this shooter is perfectly playable. So good fun. Okay, and let's try another emulator. What also works pretty well is C64 emulator. What you do to configure, and these are the emulators by Mr. Brolia, Robert Brolia, and he makes great emulators, and you can configure devices like this pretty easily. Options, input, whoops. It's a bit of a, let me see, where do we keep it here? Key, gamepad, input setup. And here we have the Logitech Rumble Pad USB, so we do that. The analog stick is mapped as the D-pad as well. The hat is also mapped as the D-pad. You can map the key, the joystick keys, are they mapped? Up, right, left, right, down. Trigger is G1, trigger turbo is that, and swap ports is 4. So basically we have a working system. And let's see if we can actually load a game. Whoops. Let's run that again. Load game, and now we have to go to the C64. Oh, and they're all zipped. Bloody hell. C64 emulator. Oh, I don't think I configured that emulator yet. I did so on the other device. I actually installed this on a desktop device as well. I may do another video on that. It supports more. Hardware. Well, PC emulator. I think we. Oh, I still have to configure that as well, I guess. So input setup, the Logitech gamepad, and then the gamepad keys. Yes. So 1 is G1. 2 is that one, 3 is that one, and I'm just going to go for a 3 button 1 and 2. Wait, you know what? I'll go for 1 and I go for 2, and then the turbo is 1 and 2. I'm not going to go for a full 6 button pad. So basically that is what you do, and it saves the configuration once you exit the emulator. And let's load a game. Download ROMs, PCE, and it's a matter of, let's go for Blazing Lasers. That's my ultimate favorite. Blazing Lasers. Continue. So, oh, this is the first time I run it, so you get the option to do full screen or not. So game over. Oh, I think I should have selected the start and run things as well. So input setup, Logitech, and gamepad keys, because we have select and run. Well, if you use all the emulators by this guy, you basically get a similar, experience on various systems. So this actually runs very smoothly. Whoops. So playing Blazing Lasers with this joypad works great. So you actually have a portable TurboGrafx 16 system, PC Engine system. The cool thing about this is that this emulator allows you to set the proper aspect ratio 4:3, but you can also stretch the screen to the full widescreen monitor that this laptop sports. What is also interesting is the fact that 16-bit, of course, runs. I think I have used this BeamRider. Continue. Yes, I configured that. So this is 2600 BeamRider. Well, as you can see, it works flawless. So this actually makes I mean, if you take this on the road, it's an excellent travel companion, I guess. Let me check out 16-bit. What is 16-bit? Oh, GBA emulation. That's also Gradius Advanced. Oh, let's not, because Konami really is an asshole when it comes to that type of. Let's do Defender. I hope I have configured the buttons correctly. So this is a Game Boy Advance game running on a laptop running Android, and indeed I think I mapped them, but I may not. Press start. No, I have not mapped them yet. So we go to key gamepad input setup, and we go to Logitech, and we go to gamepad keys, and then we see that select and start still aren't. There are actually controllers that basically have these keys properly mapped already, so you don't actually have to do a single thing to configure it. But this gamepad uses slightly different lettering. It is a human interface device compatible game, but let's go and see if I can press start. Yep. So it's a matter of configuring, and the device really has to support the device. The application really has to support the configuring of the gamepad, and if it doesn't support that configuration, then it just doesn't work. But this actually runs full speed. So Game Boy Advance emulation full speed. And let's go check out Super Nintendo NES. NES also runs full speed. Commando. continue. As you can see, it runs flawlessly. It even does the weird sprite flicker and stuff. But yeah, you have a NAS on the Android as well. And Robert's emulators are amazing. They really are worth checking out. Oh, wait. And let's do the PlayStation, because the PlayStation can be emulated as well. So run game. And I've put some of my games on this, and let's go for Ridge Racer. And I'm not sure if I actually mapped the controller yet. I don't think I have. So let's see if I can map the controllers. Quit. Yes, quit game. Preferences. So we map the controllers. Sound preferences, input preferences. So gamepad options, input methods. Let's go for player 1 default. Select gamepad, and we have the Logitech Rumble Pad. Okay, will that be enough? Let's see if we run a game. It may actually, I mean, it recognized it, and all these emulators have different settings. So look, Logitech Gamepad is recognized, and perhaps the buttons are also recognized. No, so it's still a matter of mapping the buttons. Oh wait, press start. No, it doesn't. So I still have to map the buttons. So we will map the buttons. Let's go back. Yes. Preferences, and then we have selected the Logitech Rumble Pad. Gamepad options. Automatic game flies. Blue as profile. No. Select gamepad. Map buttons. Okay. So up is the hat, right, down, left, select, start, triangle is the 4th button, circle is the 3rd button, X is the 2nd button, and square is the 1. L1 is a shoulder button, L2, R1, R2, and then we have so this is basically the what is it, the digital mapping of the game. So run game. And this game is I mean, this emulator actually supports the use of the analog sticks as well, but for the time's sake, I'm just mapping the digital buttons, because this game actually only runs with the digital joystick, so you know, the non-dual analog shock. And here you can actually see the performance of a fairly unconfigured, unoptimized yet emulator on this hardware. Just, you know, you can actually get rid of those overlay keys. Just to show you how fast the emulation actually runs. This actually runs full speed. And so you can see that you also have a PlayStation on your device. Well, it is possible to emulate a dual analog joystick as well, so you can actually play other games that have that option. But it's very playable. And I'm playing through the viewfinder, so of the camera, so that actually is a bit But look at that. I mean, it just functions like it should. Now, because this is a virtual machine, a Java machine running on the hardware, this is actually not comparable to running real code on the, on the real hardware. There is a bit of a translation that goes on, but this is Media XBMC that also works on this system. Quick Office, it's a great way to just have a quick restore document. Why not? So that is a little thing that I was typing. You can actually work on Microsoft compatible stuff, audio, video, SoundHound works, SID Player, Ziggo TV, Netflix, and yeah, all sorts of stuff that works. VLC works, Dropbox works, Geekbench. Perhaps it's fun to show you what the performance actually is. Of course, these are synthetic benchmarks, but it would be interesting. So this is an Intel Atom N450 running at 1.67 gigahertz. It is a single core CPU, so that is actually a bit of a downer because Android often already has more cores. So that actually, and this has 2 gigabytes of memory, so that is actually quite good. And the speed is fast, but it is a single core, so that probably will drag down the performance in such synthetic benchmarks. Yeah. When you I mean, if I compare this real life with my Nexus 7 Android tablet, this system feels very snappy, feels a bit faster, and the emulation on it runs flawlessly. So yeah, the only thing that really it falls short in my opinion, is the 3D performance. And that is a shame because if this hardware would have been able to run some of the 3D games, this would have been the ultimate OS on this laptop, Just chuck this in a bag or use an Android compatible Bluetooth controller that actually is supported by a lot of the games. Then you'd basically have, you have a keyboard, you have a non-transformer. Well, you basically have a netbook tablet without a touch. I mean, if this would support a touch interface, then this would have been amazing. So it scores a measly 820, which is quite a bit lower than you would expect. So this is Geekbench 2. Whoops. And integer performance. But basically this is because the memory performance is pretty good, and stream performance is also pretty good. But what it falls short in is of course the fact that it is a single core system. So if I compare it, this is my device and this is a Nexus 10, Nexus 4, Samsung Galaxy S3, Xperia tablet, LG Optimus, Nexus 7, Asus Nexus 7. So this is actually a multi-core Tegra 3 system, and you see that it actually runs quite fast. The Samsung Galaxy S2, Samsung Galaxy Nexus, that basically more or less feels the same. The Nexus 1, HTC Nexus 1, is actually about half or 2/3 of it. So we could do another benchmark. The Antutu benchmark. Let's see if that will run. Okay, so it's an unknown device, which is not, so this was the score that I had last time, details. I may be able to compare it. Ranking. So, yeah, let's compare it with an HTC One. So my device sports 12.838, and that sports a score that is about double. So the HTC One really runs better, and storage AO is faster on this machine. Database AO is about the same. RAM speed is double on this system. 2D graphics is about a fourth of this. 3D graphics really is very low. So yeah, I don't think the benchmarks really work well on the Intel system, because the performance is actually a lot better than what you'd see on this. It's quite snappy. Yeah, would I advise you to try and test this out? Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it's interesting. Let me see. So the CPU type is Mesa DRI Intel, and then IGD x86, and OpenGL information. So there are OpenGL implementations, but yeah, the OpenGL implementation of the Linux drivers basically limit or enable the system to have a great display. Yeah, what else? Well, that's it basically, I guess. Perhaps some other games. Pew Pew, which is a little. Oh, this actually supports the gamepad. So select game mode, and let's go for Pandemonium. Start. So basically this is a dual analog shooter that actually is very similar to Geometry Wars, and as you can see, this runs pretty well. I guess with Android and browsing and running the emulators and stuff, I think this system is actually running better than it runs Windows 8 or 7, I mean. So, I mean, and what it does pretty well. And the benchmarks really don't show the true performance. So, yeah, I suggest you just try it out yourself. Trying it out on real hardware is recommended. It is possible to install this in virtual machines, this version of Android. I'll put a link to the Android web page down in the description in the video. But if you try to use this Android version, I recommend running this on real hardware with either a nice fat Intel GPU, preferably a multi-core CPU, and or run it with a Radeon or Radeon type graphics card supporting 3D. And actually I have installed Android on another system, which basically is this system down below. It's an HP desktop that has a Radeon graphics card. I hooked it up to that display, and that actually does support 3D graphics, and you'll be able to play quite a few interesting 3D games on it as well. And that actually performs a bit snappier and faster than this single core CPU. I think this performs slower with certain applications, perhaps even the benchmarks, because this is a single core CPU. This netbook is really underpowered, but for what it does, for what it is capable of, I'm actually quite impressed. Google Chrome. So you're able to browse. Pretty fast, and of course you are presented with the what is it, the the mobile versions of the websites, but that's okay because it's a small screen and I'm probably better off browsing the mobile versions of websites on this netbook anyway, so because of the resolution and the screen size. Do I recommend this on this system? Yes, I think this is going to be yeah, I mean, luckily the sound worked. This is the first release. I'm actually pretty satisfied with what this actually does with this netbook. And I'm curious if other people actually decided to put this on their notebooks as well, or on their hardware, and see and show us their experiences. I think this really could be something to ponder over, using as an operating system if you are not going to go the Windows route. And if if Linux still is a bit difficult for you to run games in or run applications in, because Linux really still is a bit of a geek OS that you have to use the command shell every once in a while. A lot of the stuff has been converted to the GUI, but still, it's a system that is not for everybody, I guess. And Android, well, it really could. And this little Akoya device, well, it's an Akoya Android for now. Well, Mark signing off, and I'll be back with another video, and probably a video on Android running on my desktop system. So yeah. So, is this a nice system to have on the Akoya? I think it is. What holds it down is the fact that it is a single core CPU and it doesn't support full graphics. So what I'm going to do is actually make yet another video, where I install Ubuntu, where I install Android on a desktop system, and that's actually housed over there below. It's not the Vectrex, but below, which is a more powerful system, and that's going to be the third video on Android on Intel systems. So look out for the next video, I say.